This is the lesson 1.3 independent practice. This is pages 23 and 24. And this video will more than likely just be page 23. The idea here is that you try all these problems as best you can. Only play the video when you're either ready to check your answers or when you're ready in need of a hint. So let's go ahead and go through these. First question, number 5. Financial literacy. Jacob earned $80 babysitting and deposited the money into his account. The next week he spent $85 on video games. Use integers, plural, to describe the weekly changes in Jacob's savings account. Well, the first week he earned $80. What integer would represent $80? That would be positive 80. The second week he spent $85. That would be represented by negative 85. It didn't ask us to explain, it simply asked us to use integers, plural. We did that to describe the weekly changes, so the answers are positive 80 and negative 85. Ready to move on. Question 6 reads, Sarah's savings account balance changed by $34 one week and by negative $67 the next week. Which amount represents the greatest change? I want you to pay attention that this doesn't ask which is the greater number. If it asks which is the greater number, $34 is the greater number because it's a positive. But it doesn't ask, it asks which is the greatest change. Well, which week did her account balance change more? When it went up $34 or when it went down $67? Well, since 67 is the greater value, that's when it changed more. The answer is negative 67. And if you require an explanation here, we're not talking about the value of the number, we're talking about the greater change. So we're basically comparing the value of the absolute value of 34, which is 34, and the absolute value of negative 67, which is 67. That's a greater change, so the answer is negative 67. Okay, question number 7. Bertrand collects movie posters. The number of movie posters in his collection changes each month as he buys and sells posters. The table shows how many posters he bought or sold in the given months. In January he sold 20. So what I would say there is that that's going to be a negative because the amount that he had went down by 20. In February he bought 12, so I'm going to say that's a positive. In March he bought 22, I'm going to say that's a positive. And in April he sold 28, that's a negative. Question A says, which months have changes that can be represented by positive numbers? Which months have changes that can be represented by negative numbers? So I would say that the positive numbers would be February and March. You know, I'm going to be a lot faster if I type it, and I'll just type as neatly as I can. February and March are positive numbers, and it says to explain, and I would just say because he I'm going to change it to added. He added to his collection. And January and April are negative because he sold, or we'll say how about subtracted? He subtracted from his collection. That's a decent answer right there. February and March are positive numbers because he added to his collection. January and April are negative because he subtracted from his collection. Okay, let's move on. There's a second part to this question. Question B says, according to the table, in which month did the size of Bertrand's poster collection change the most? Use absolute value to explain your answer. So it doesn't ask which is the greatest number. It asks which was the greatest change. So let's talk about that. In fact, I think what I need to do here is go back up to my deal and go back up to the table here. How much did his, it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, but how much did his collection change in January? It changed by 20. It was positive, but it doesn't matter. It changed by 20. How much did it change in February? By 12. How much did it change in March? By 22. How much did it change in April? By 28. That's the greatest number there. So it says to use great absolute value in your answer. Here's how I would answer B. April is the answer. April because the number of posters sold, 28, was higher than any other changes in the other months. And then if I wanted to handwrite something on that, I could just say something like this. The absolute value of negative 28 was 28, and that was greater than any of the other numbers. That would be a decent answer for that question. Alright, we've got number 8 here, and then we'll stop this video and we'll resume the next video for page 24. Question 8 reads, Death Valley has an elevation of negative 282 feet relative to sea level. Explain how to use absolute value to describe the elevation of Death Valley as a positive integer. Well, that is not a positive integer, so what am I going to do? Well, by now you know that if you take the negative number 282 and you put it inside these symbols, you record it as a positive number. Because negative 282, while a small number, is it's 282 spaces away from 0. So the absolute value of negative 282 is positive 282. Now what we're supposed to do is put a little sentence in that to describe the elevation. Well, if I can't say it's negative 282, what I can say is this. Death Valley is I'm going to write 282. Notice I didn't use the sign, the negative sign. Death Valley is 282 feet, and this is where I'm going to use my negative number, below sea level. Using the word below there describes that this number is a negative number, even though I didn't use it as that's the key word there, even though I didn't use it as a negative sign there, it's still a negative number because of that word below. So double check that you've got the right answer for number 8. Death Valley is 282 feet below sea level. Okay, you're done with page 23. The next video will be page 24.